Okay, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah. So,
I have to share my screen then, right?
yeah. So I am going to release the broadcast, and I would introduce you as well as mention.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah. So, sorry.
Now I hear myself twice. Share my screen then, right?
Sorry. So, let me mute it. Sorry. Yeah, I've muted. Okay. So I would also be encouraging the participants to ask their questions on live chat.
Okay.
All right.
But the question, you will then tell me the questions from the participants, or should I have to see them somewhere?
I will mention the questions.
Okay.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Keynotion's webinar series. Today's focus on R&D, and we are very honored to have Mr. Koch from to join us today. And Jan, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. Thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to this webinar. My name is Jan Koch. I'm research associate and group leader at RWTH Aachen University, and I'm there working in the Department of Innovation Management, where we are focusing on a broad range of R&D topics. And I'm also responsible for the R&D Intelligence Center. I will show you afterwards in some slides what the R&D Intelligence Center is. And in this webinar, I will give you some insights into international benchmarking study of artificial intelligence in R&D. So should I start? Then I will share my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. So do you see my presentation? Can you see it, Ariana? Okay. I think you're muted, but I think you said yes.
Oh, yes. No, I can see the presentation well. Sorry.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, as I mentioned in the following, let's say, I don't know, 45 to 50 minutes, I will show you some insights into our international benchmarking study, artificial intelligence in R&D. And if you have any questions, yeah, always feel free to ask. And I think Ariana will stop me or will ask me or tell me your questions after the presentation. Just for a short introduction, as I already mentioned, I'm the Center Director of the R&D Intelligence Center. What is the R&D Intelligence Center? The center is a center at our RWTH Aachen campus, and in such a center we are focusing on different topics where we want to collaborate with the industry. And we are doing so in our center with the focus on the successful use of data or digitalization in R&D in general, and to be able to work on different kinds of questions in an industrial context in our center. And we have different competencies from a university. So, for example, we have competencies from the engineering background, where I'm from, as well as competencies from an economics background and informatics background, so that we can work on topics like, for example, artificial intelligence from different perspectives, and can support the industry in different services. That's what I'm showed here on the on the right-hand side of the slide. So we have different kind of working groups, congresses, as well as our typical education, like seminars and webinars from university side, as well as projects we are working with in our center. So what is the overall topic or the focus of our center, and which is also the focus of this presentation, is about enabling companies to become, let's say, more R&D intelligent. What do we mean by that is that we want to enable companies, enable the employees to, for example, automate or partly automate repetitive tasks by using data-based algorithms or data-based tools in an R&D context. And I think especially in R&D, it is interesting to have a look at all the unstructured data, for example, in the requirements management. We have a lot of texts and specification sheets specified for each development project. And I do think it is it is a lot of a huge amount of manual work to, for example, screen specification sheets of the past, but algorithms like semantic text mining algorithm enable to screen those specification sheets, for example, in order to identify in a really early phase in the development project if I have already developed a function or a requirement I'm looking at for a future product already, and if I can reuse such already developed functionalities. So this is one example. We are focusing, also focusing, of course, on how to use structured data in a better way. And this is, let's say, our overall context and our motivation. What is our vision with regard to R&D intelligence? This is kind of our target picture, let's say. On the left-hand side, you see that we want to enable companies to become better in an early phase, in the market intelligence phase, how we call it, in order to identify from different sources you can use, as you can see here, like customer data, maintenance reports, or also from social media or other sources, in order to and the customer in a better way, or also to identify innovation potentials for further product for the development of as well as I already mentioned, I think on the previous slide, is to have a focus on smart product development. Smart product development means for us that we want to support the employees in different development activities, like in requirements management, for example, or later on I will show you also an example for the master data management. Here a short overview about, as I already mentioned, our 4 pillars of services. So we have we want to foster the or strengthen the cross-industry exchange. On the one hand side, we want to support you in building up competencies in the field of engineering, informatics, as well as the economical side. And we also want to focus on project-based collaboration within our center. This as a short introduction about what is our R&D Intelligence Center, on which topics are we focusing, and how can you come in touch with us, or how can you collaborate with us. And now I will show you the results of our international benchmarking study. We finished this study in 2019. So the results are quite representable, I think, and here you can see an overview about the total number of returns from producing companies we got in total, and by reducing some incorrect questionnaires or which are not filled out in a full manner, we had at least 145 questionnaires which the following results are based on. And I have to add here also we identified within our study so-called top performers. These are the 30 most successful companies in applying AI in R&D, as well as being successful also in an economical way. And at the upcoming slides, there will be some presentations where we compare the top performers to the rest of the field, let's say, which are the so-called followers in our context, or are named in this way at the following slides. Here to get an hopefully a better overview about the characterization of our study participants, you can see that we have a good distribution between different fields and sectors of the industry. I have to add here that it is also possible, or it was possible for companies participating at our study that they can characterize themselves as companies which have fields or business sectors in a defense field, for example, in an aerospace field, and maybe also in electronical field, so that they so that it was possible to characterize yourself in different fields. And I think you can overall see that we have here a broad range of different industries participating at the study, so that hopefully every participant of this webinar can somehow find himself in some of the results which I'm showing afterwards. Here you can see how the participants, somehow my PowerPoint is currently not showing the numbers in the right way, but you can see it on the scale. So it is like most of the companies were participating as medium-sized companies and big companies, large companies, corporate groups with, let's say, it was kind of 30 to 35% of the participants, and we have also some startups, research institutes, or public companies participating at this study. On this slide, I will now give you an overview about how companies are using AI in R&D. So we, and you will see that we had the overall focus on the one hand side, how was AI applied within the product portfolio, and on the other hand side, within or for optimizing the internal R&D processes. And based on these two directions, we also ask in this way that how are companies applying AI, and we see that most of the companies, or if they are applying AI, they are more of the companies are applying it for the extension of the product portfolio, so with a product-based focus comparing to a process focus. And if we have also a look at the level of responsibility, who is introducing AI or who is pushing this topic within the company, and we can see that this is kind of a top management topic, and most of the companies answered that or said that their managing directors is started projects or started a program for AI R&D. This is a last overall slide to give you an overview about the study, and after that I will show you our study framework, and we'll go into more detail based on the results within our different fields of the framework. But here, as a last slide before starting with that, you can see that companies had different or showed a different kind of objectives they are pursuing by using AI. And if we have a look at the right-hand side of this pie diagram, we can see that also here the focus is mostly on products, so adding or offering new products, new services, new functionalities, or maybe also new business models. Has shown that most of the companies are focusing on these topics, but nevertheless you can't say that there's one objective, that there's one topic all or most companies are following. So it's also a broad range, and it shows that the application of AI in R&D is possible in a broad and wide range, and it depends on your industry. It depends on the characteristics of your company, and also depends on if you more a process focus or more a product focus. And that's what you can also see here on the right hand side of the slide, that for example chemistry, like more process based industry, are focusing more reduction of time to market or the automation of R&D activities, whereas electronics or mechanical engineering are focusing more on the service and the product based side. Okay, this just as an introduction, and show you how our participants of this study characterize themselves and what kind of objectives they are focusing on with regard to the application of AI in R&D. Now, in the following slides, I will show you some examples with regard to the organizational implementation of AI. So, what do I have to focus on as a company here, like competencies, or how do I create transparency, for example. The technological side and the technological implementation will be a second topic I will focusing. So, for example, like what kind of data should I use, and what is an information architecture. And in a third step, I will focus on this framework field here in the middle, the application within the product portfolio or on the processes, and we'll show you for all the three fields, also examples from industry which we have seen based on our study. So this is something I have to add here as well. We did, I forgot mentioning at the beginning, we did our benchmarking study in the first step by building this questionnaire and analyzing it. But we also identified, as I said, our top performers, and from these top performers, we also identified the 5 most successful companies, let's say, and we were able to visit these companies and discuss with these companies how they are using AI, how they on an organizational and technological side applied it, and based on these insights, based on this information, as well as information from our research projects at university, but as well as industry projects, consulting projects we are doing as well, and from our center side, I can hopefully show you some insights here. Okay, as I mentioned in the first step, focusing on the organizational requirements, I want to start with some results from the study side. We've seen that most of the companies are applying AI in a pilot project or multiple projects. And if you have a deeper look at this analysis, we see that most of the company, or it depends on the size of the company, and like companies from up to 1,000 employees mostly are focusing on one pilot project, and yeah, larger companies also implementing in a first step this technology in multiple projects. I think it is really important to focus, and that is also what we have seen from our successful practice companies, that it is important to show the benefits of applying AI in this context, and not to build yeah, a one-size-fits-all solution with a large, big project. So here, in the first step, focus is really important. We also asked the companies what are the major challenges to apply AI, and here we have seen that most of the companies mention that they do not have the relevant or do not have enough of the relevant resources, the competencies, the know-how, and this is a really relevant factor, because if we are talking about digital solutions, we need a broad range of different competencies, and therefore it is yeah, really important from my point of view that we all have, on the one hand side, the domain knowledge which we have in the companies, but we also need the methodological knowledge, the technology knowledge of AI, and like data scientists and so on, and we're bringing them together, and based on your company yeah, size or your background, you have to decide if this is something or this is a make or buy decision, let's say. And we've seen that some companies say, okay, we focus or we still focus on our domain knowledge, and we buy in the relevant competencies for that. But there were also a lot of other companies across all ranges of company sizes who said we are building up, and or we are enabling our employees in understanding these new technologies, these new approaches in a better way, and therefore this is I think a really important topic. And we have seen, and this is for that I will go to the next slide, that it is a good way to show your employees in which context you can apply AI and so on, by yeah, having like different programs. For example, you can have kind of an AI accelerator program, which we've seen for one company. So they got in touch with different startups, and by connecting their competencies with the company, it becomes more easy to get in touch with the possibilities of applying AI. Or for example, another company, what you can see here on the right hand side, did kind of a Silicon Valley tour, which means that there were several employees yeah, going to the Silicon Valley in order to get more insights into the field of AI by visiting the different companies there. So this is yeah, one example how you can yeah, enable that your employees can get in, or can get to become more in touch with different or with this technology. And but what is also really important, and what I want to show on this slide, is that you have to create transparency. So how can you create it in an internal way? For example, we've seen from a company that they develop kind of a standard slide set. So this was the basis for all meetings, for all discussions, to see, okay, in our context, for our products, for our company, we do understand AI in that way. We've also seen that companies build up kind of a data manifesto where they defined how am I using data, or how are we using data as a company, for especially when it comes to exchange of data in a yeah, cross-company network. And another example we have seen here was the after-work events. I think it is a really great example of how to promote such a new technology. It was an event which was in the free time of the employees, and there were a lot of employees participating in order to strengthen the inner company network with the different employees already working on AI, but also giving such a new topic a stage in order to show what kind of use cases do we see in our context, in our company, or also to integrate startups, consultants, or universities, and to give impulses in such a field. And yeah, we have seen that there are a lot of different ways in order to create transparency in using AI, and I think it's really important, and it's a big organizational change and a mindset which have to change, and therefore from our point of view it is really important to have like different kinds of events or different kinds of documents like the standard slide set which you can use. Okay, I hope these 2 or 3 examples have shown you in which direction it can go with regard to the organizational implementation. I haven't now focused on the exact numbers based on our questionnaire. I think you can read them on the slide. More interesting, I think the examples from industry, and these I will focus on also on the following slides. Okay, we'll now come to the technological requirements. For the technological requirements, we had, for example, the focus on what kind of maturity level do companies have in different points of the infrastructure or the application of the technologies itself. And we have seen that the most important points are, for example, cloud computing, data quality, as well as the robustness and the training of the algorithms. And that's where we see that top performers, as you can see in the key in the legend, that top performers are differentiating from the followers, especially in these fields. And I discussed this, I think, 1 or 2 weeks ago with some companies. I think in the AI context and industrial context, we are looking at applying already existing methods and technologies, and we are trying to train them. We are not, I think in most of the cases, we don't have to develop the algorithm itself in a new way. We have to adapt it, and this is really important, and to know that there are kind of toolboxes you can use, and that you don't have to build up all by yourself and by your own. By using data, this is I think also a good example is that if we have an increasing amount, increasing volume of data, it doesn't mean that we become better in getting insights into this data. I want to compare it with, for example, my desk here in home office. If I'm, I think I'm now like for 9 weeks in home office, if it's getting more and more stuff on this desk, it doesn't mean I do find my notes I made in a better way. And it's the same for data. If I don't have a structure and overall architecture which enables me to get to the relevant data and to have this data stored in an efficient way, we are not becoming better by getting the insights and by using this data. And this is what I wanted to give you or to show you, and based on this left-hand side of the slide, and which we have also seen by looking at different correlations of our questionnaire answers of our questionnaires. I will now come to this slide. It is it connects a little bit with the previous slide in case of the information architecture and how to use AI. I think in an industrial context, it's really important if you do want to apply AI or data-based or data analytics in a comprehensive way. You need an information architecture to do it in a comprehensive way. We have seen it at all our successful practice companies that they build up or applied their own architecture. We do see here the Adamus platform, which was created by different mechanical engineering or producing companies in Germany, Austria, or let's say in Europe, I think, together with the software AG. And this is one example. For example, what kind of architecture you can use. There are also a lot of different other big players like Microsoft and so on. But in this context, we can also, or we should also have in mind that this kind of platform enables you also to integrate different stakeholders from your whole value chain. Because, for example, at Airbus, we have seen the Skywise platform, which you will, if you Google, you will find it. You will also find it, which enables, or which objective, it has the objective to integrate all stakeholders from supplier to the airline. And this is also kind of a new business model which can be enabled by such an information architecture, and therefore it is I think a really interesting topic. And if we compare all these different information architectures we've seen in industry or for our successful practice companies, they in their structure they are kind of have the same architecture. So we have and this is comparative to our Internet of Production, which is our cluster of excellence at RWTH Aachen University, and we are currently doing a lot of research is to have a kind of middleware, which is the green one here, which enables the connection to the proprietary information systems like a PLM, ERP, or all the different systems along the value chain, in order to enable different users, which are here on this smart expert level or the upper level, to realize different use cases by visualizing them in different apps, by using different algorithms like AI algorithms, which are based on this middleware layer, and having the connection to all the data stored in the proprietary information systems. And I think this is also another important factor that comprehensive application of AI is not successfully possible based on our study results if you don't build up such an information architecture. One other example for the technological view is building up different competencies in this field. We have seen here that one company built up or made their own training tools, and that they trained a lot of different employees through the different sectors and divisions of their or business units of their company, and shows also that this is a possibility to train your employees. And especially we have seen that competencies like the data exploration, analysis, as well as the development of AI algorithms. But here I don't mean the development of the new algorithm itself. It means more the application of this algorithm in a new context, in an industry-specific context. Okay, so for the last, or my last examples of this presentation, to give you some insights into our study, will now focus on the application of AI in the product portfolio as well as the process, and I hopefully can give you here some additional examples as well. If you have any questions afterwards, of course feel free to ask, or I have also my contact details in this presentation so that you can contact me as well. As introduction, or as the first slide, as for the previous framework fields here as well, some results of the study. What we have also focused on, or what we have asked companies, is what kind of automation level have you already achieved? That is what you can see here on this upper side of the slide. So we ask, is the AI application more on an assistance level? Is it a partial automation, or is it maybe software add-on for your product, which enables you full automation? And we have seen here that with regard to 2019, most of the companies say we are mainly focusing on the fields from assistance to conditional automation. Therefore, you can ask yourself, okay, is maybe AI in an industrial context something also when we look at autonomous driving, which is maybe not successfully applicable up to a full automation level, and therefore we ask, what is your target in automation by AI within the next 5 years? And there we have seen that, especially a lot of the top performers in different contexts, they say we also want to reach a full automation level, and that shows that the different companies do see here a lot of fields of application, a lot of different use cases, and also to apply it to a high level of automation. Now, what we have seen in our study, and especially when visiting the successful practice companies, is that for applying AI, customer focus and customer-centric design is really important. And that is what I want to describe here. One company said, and this is, I think, a really good description, and if you want to build up successful products, and products especially which have a more software-based add-on, we have to change our mindset from a product-based design to human-centered design, because such add-ons, such software add-ons are only used if they have a benefit for the user, and that's what we have to focus on in the first place. Otherwise, like all the agile principles, for example, are focusing on, we are not fitting to the customer requirements, and that is what we have seen for nearly every company. We were discussing these topics with one company, for example. They had kind of they call it a customer experience center to get in touch with the customers and to discuss possible use cases in a really early phase. They have kind of creative areas to get in touch in workshops. In the current phase, because of COVID-19, it might not be possible, but still, I think it shows that there is a high importance in these topics, and also for the companies with with plant engineering, mechanical engineering. They all said, for us, AI-based products, or our products, get more efficient, they get more effective, so we can increase the OEE by integrating AI-based software add-ons. And they said, for the customer, he can still buy like our machine like before, but if we want to use the machine in the most efficient way, he has to use our software add-ons, which are at least some of them based on AI. So what I now also want to focus on is what can be an example to identify innovation potentials in an early phase, and therefore to support my processes. So this on the right hand side is an example where we analyze different texts by text mining algorithms in order to see which kind of words were mentioned quite often, and which words are also correlated quite often to each other. And we do see here in this example that strenuous is mentioned or has a great correlation or big correlation to wrist, sinew, or rotation. So this example is about a hair roller. It's not a product I'm using, obviously, but what we can see here is that we can identify potential new functionalities, new innovation potentials by analyzing, for example, information which is in the field, which is in kind of forums or customer feedback data or whatever. And for this example, they found out that for the users, for the women using this hair roller, by using this rotation, they get kind of a strenuous in their wrist, and they got a new functionality by rolling this hair by air. And this is something you can come through by using, for example, these AI tools, these AI algorithms, and can get to great innovation potentials. But nevertheless, and this is also one thing I want to say is that all the companies said AI is kind of, or is and was kind of a hype topic, and we still have to focus it. We still have to focus on what kind of topics are successfully usable in order to apply AI. And as I said, I think already it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. In order to be successful, we have to find a use case which is well defined and which isn't too wide, and therefore it is important to have this focus, and maybe you will identify that there might be use case on a level where transparency and visibility in the first step might be important, and therefore this might also be the answer, that for these things maybe statistical methods and the application of them would be fine as well, and you don't have to apply AI in this context. One last example before I will come to a short conclusion of my presentation is that we also are working on a tool which enables company to consolidate their master data. So if we have different bill of materials, we have seen in our modular product platform projects, or if one company bought some other companies and they have kind of an information structure or bombs which are not structured in the same way on a generic product structure. It is AI is a possibility, or to use AI, and here also text mining, semantic text mining, in order to make a unification and a consolidation of our descriptions in BOMs, in bill of materials. So what is this algorithm doing? He is identifying that, for example, the three-phase motor, electro mode, and DS motor, and whatever description you're using, especially also if it's in different languages, if it's has typos or something like that, it is able to consolidate them and also to identify kind of variant drivers in order to make an overall consolidation of your BOM data. This is something we are in discussion with a lot of different companies in order to apply that for these companies. And of course, if this might be an interesting point, feel free to contact me. Okay. I hope I was able to give you some insights into our study and some examples of our company visits we were able to do it with for our successful practice companies. I hopefully can give you an overview, or have given you an overview about how, in an organizational and technological context, AI should be considered, as well as what concrete use cases in R&D we do see. Because of the time, of course, I wasn't able to go into deep detail. I'm really looking forward to do this if you get in touch with me. And what I can offer you, if you're interested in, is based on our database, based on our study, that you can benchmark your company to our database, and that we can discuss kind of measures, kind of potential use cases, and so on, or kind of possibilities of collaboration based on that. So feel free to contact me if you're interested in that. And if you want to contact me, here you will find my contact details. Always feel free to use my mail address. Otherwise, if you want to follow our activities in this context, and also if you maybe want to follow our webinars, feel free to follow us at our LinkedIn channel. Then thanks for your attention. So far, this is the input from my side. Are there any questions?
Okay, Jan, thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. We have one question coming in from Janice Gordon. How do you define success factor for the integration of AI in your customer journey?
Can you repeat it? I didn't get the beginning of the sentence.
How do you define success factor for the integration of AI for your customers?
Okay. Yeah, that is a great question. I think it's in the discussion with your customer. It is not important to talk about how you solve it. So is the solution AI or is it not? It's the most important thing is that you're talking about the problems of or the challenge that the customer have with your products or in your process, and AI might then be in the next step a great solution for that, especially if you're talking about large amounts of data or a lot of different parameters and so on. And therefore, I wouldn't say that in a specific discussion with your customer, you have to ask, is there any use case for applying AI for you? You should always come from the challenge, from the problem for the customer. And for applying it, maybe might be this question was going also in this direction. We have seen that most of the companies, as a systematic approach, are using the CRISP DM cycle, so the cross-industry process standard for data mining, which from my perspective is a great great approach to use.
Okay, that's a color who asked. Actually, she likes your point on being customer centric. And she agrees on being human focused. Do you have any measurements to estimate customer satisfaction? What benchmarks would you recommend? I mean, she also agrees that it is not one solution resolves all problems, but like she wants to know if it is wise to adopt fully tailor-made approach.
Oh, that's a good question. So the first part is if we of the question was if we use in our benchmark some kind of measures or something like that, or how to measure the success. We were in our benchmarking, we were more focusing on the use cases itself and the maturity level, let's say. So we didn't make this step to the customer. But it is a really interesting point. Maybe to answer this question in the context of one company visit we made for a producing company was that they always said that we can enable our customer by using our software add-ons, which are AI based, to be more efficient in using our machines, and therefore the measure would be, for example, the output of such a machine, which is the same measure I've measured before, but I can compare it with the increase of the output, and this might be the context, but I think it really depends specifically on the context and the type of use case you're realizing, and therefore I'm not sure if there is an overall or general measure, but I will think about it. Maybe later on I will have an answer to that. So that's an interesting question. Yeah.
For those who are joining us through YouTube, do you have any questions? Young, while waiting for more questions flowing in, I have a couple of questions. The first one is, do companies have the relevant data to implement such use cases?
This is, from my point of view, one of the mostly asked topics or statements that companies mention, that they don't have enough data or big data in order to use these tools in a successful way. We have seen in one project, for example, where we have used R&D project data, and I think every kind of bigger company is kind of managing their projects or the different projects by having a time span, or by having to be to as is data, and also by managing the different resources needed. And we have seen, like, for example, for these data, if you can't use tools like a neural network, there are still other algorithms which can be very successful in applying with small amounts of data. So from my point of view, also in R&D context, there are a lot of different data sources which you can use, and therefore you don't have to build or use new data. You can use your current data, and of course you have to have a look at the data quality. This is, as always in this kind of projects, one of the biggest issues to work on, and the most time consuming issue. But still, we have seen that there are different use cases already applicable.
All right, thank you very much. And Jan, due to time, allow me to ask one final question, and I'll get the participants who would still like to ask questions sent over emails if that's fine with you. So if that's one takeaway from today's presentation, what would that be?
I hope one central takeaway, besides that there are a lot of fields of application, is that also in the field of R&D, still the application of AI or other database tool is successfully possible, especially in a current phase like COVID-19. It is a key enabler in order to become more efficient in our processes. And I'm really looking forward that companies are focusing more also on R&D topics beside the production and production environment and supply chain environment.
All right. I agree on your point also on supply chain environment. I believe that AI is becoming more and more important, and I'm pretty sure like with the quarantine ongoing and the disruptions in terms of logistics, I'm quite optimistic that a lot of corporates will start being really looking into it more seriously. Do you agree on that?
Yeah, I hope so. I think our current situation is giving us the possibility to think in that way, or to discuss those topics in other ways, and therefore, I hope that especially in a producing context, and also for Europe, where we have a lot of producing companies still here, that they do see the benefits here, and therefore I'm really looking forward to apply more of the use cases in this field in R&D.
All right, thank you very much for joining us today, Jan. Also, I will redirect all questions after the webinar to you, and we do look forward to hosting you again with us in our next series. So have a great day.
Thank you for having me, and hopefully there were some interesting facts for the participants, and have a great day with your other webinar sessions.
All right, great. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.